When I make a splint, I want to make that splint one time and one time only. I don't have time to be messing around, and that's your mentality you want. So if you're not that fast, it's okay. But you want to give yourself the best possible chance of doing a great job right off the bat. But this is what I do. When it's halfway cooled down, I will place it on, and I always make sure the tip is there, because when it lays down, you don't have to touch nothing. You just have to make sure you lay it down, and the material will drape over, and you're gonna see this knuckle conform. This knuckle right here, because your middle finger knuckle is the biggest knuckle that sticks out when you are in a MP flex position. So as soon as you lay it out, that knuckle is gonna pop out, right? And you will take it off. You can, right on there, you could use, I like to use my finger, and I'll mark it with the indentation. But normally if I see where this knuckle lands, I know that my index finger is just a little higher and my small finger is just a little lower. So whatever time it takes, you get their hand ready before you go. Like, don't rush into making a splint, because when you rush into making a splint, you actually make it harder on yourself in the long run. So it's so important, sometimes you slow down, you go slow so that you can go fast later. You go fast now, you actually end up making yourself go slow, right? So get that hand ready. So I'll make sure that, I'll do a little bit of PIP, I'll do a little bit of flexion, make them feel really comfortable with me before I go into a splint, right? So if they're like this, and again, you would make your splint, you could do a little bit of flexion, like 20 degrees of flexion. I like to do my neutral, so I go based on the back of my hand. And then the flexion is just as long as they're halfway, right? It's like 60 degrees, but I never pull out my goniometer. Just put them in a safe position. You don't want them too low, you don't want them too high, right about here. And I get them ready. Whatever it takes. If it's pain, massage them a little bit, make them feel comfortable. If it's getting the PIPs a little straighter, I'll stretch them, get them a little straighter, and then I make the splint, right? So then the splint is really, I swear, it's just a rectangle. So if I draw my hand like this, right? I want to go from here. That's a rectangle, right? If this is my index finger side, and this is my small finger side, I have a rectangle. I go to the tip of the long finger, and then I go to 2/3 the length of the forearm. All right. Now, you know that the thumb is here, right? So where's the thumb? The thumb is about around right here, right? So all you do is just carve out a little indentation for the thumb. That's it, right? And your small finger is a little bit shorter than your long finger. So then you just go and it's gonna be a little bit smaller. It's gonna be a little bit shorter, right? And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna round your corners. Right? Round your corners, boom. That's your splint right there. Now, the hardest part about this splint is the dog ear corners that you have to make. So I always go and I say, where is my MPs, right? So you know that your MP, you have a kind of a diagonal because your small finger is lower than your index finger, right? So if you take, let me take my piece of paper, all right? This is your splint. It's pretty much this, right? So I'm gonna round out. If you don't practice that splinting that much, use a piece of paper. It's half a piece of paper. Don't worry about the length, right? A paper is gonna be shorter than 2/3 the length, but when you cut the splint, you'll just cut yours a little bit longer. And remember, you're folding it over like this, right? So it's gonna shorten up a little bit. But just get a piece of paper and you can practice and cut it out. So this is my index finger. This is my index finger, and this is my small finger side, right? I know I'm gonna round my edges, but I know that my small finger is gonna be a lot smaller and lower, right? I know my thumb is gonna be over here. So what I do is I get a piece of splint material, right? And you could do this with a piece of paper first. And I literally do this. I put it right to the tip of their finger, right? I place them in position, and then I measure it out like this. And I say, okay, where is their thumb? Their thumb is down here, right? I literally just use my fingers to mark it. And this is a pattern. This is it, right? And then what I do is, when I heat it up and then I cut, right? I let it harden a little bit. Don't play with it when it's too soft. So, because it's depending on the material you use, it might not forgive you, right? So when it's halfway, I'll place it. You always want to make sure that your tip is there, right? And then I'll just lay it over their hand. And I'll take my finger and I'll mark where the MP is of the index finger. I'll mark it where the MP is, and then where the MP of the small finger is. One is always higher and one is always lower. And I give it a little slit. I give it a little slit. Don't go crazy with the slit, okay? If you cut too far over, then you're gonna lose some of the support you need at the finger here. One of the things that I like to use to practice is a sticky note, right? Why? Because it has a sticky thing. So when you make the little cut across, you don't have to do this, but you can round the corner of this off too. But all you're doing is you cut the little slit, and then when you go to fit it on them, you essentially fold it over into like this square. Want to see it again? That's why I like to do it with a sticky, right? Sticky note. Let me see, can you see it? And then you just take it and you fold it over. Take it and you fold it over like this. And it makes a doggy ear. So when you make that doggy ear, it sits right here, right? So let's do this again. So it's straight. You have them in flexion. The material just lays down on it. You lay one side, right? One side. You take the other side and you fold it over. You're making a corner. That's it. That's the hardest part though, right?